This channel would not be where it is today without the support of all of these gracious people. Thank you guys.
What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome to the Nerdy Narrative, a little channel I created in order to talk about all the things that I read. Today is the very last weekly reading wrap-up I will have in the month of December. Chris and I are about to head out to go home to Mississippi to be with our families for the holidays. So I will not have a chance to film and edit and all of that fun stuff because we don't see our families enough. All of my time is going to be spent with friends and family back home. So we'll have a really big powwow when I get back. But let's talk about what all I read this week. Jake from The Bookish Drummer is doing a read-along of all of Stephen King's short stories. Currently, we're working our way through Night Shift. This week's short story was called Trucks. It was a lot of fun. It was a little hokey. I found it very similar to Christine, but with Christine, from what I remember, we had an ending. With Trucks, it was left open. The reader is given enough information to see the direction that the story would be taking in the future had it continued. I really liked it. I found it more fun than terrifying, if that makes any sense. It was just one of those campy kind of stories that I absolutely adore. I'm just really having a great time getting into Stephen King's older works and seeing where he started as a writer and comparing it to some of his recent stuff that I read. So looking forward to continuing that. And then the next book that I finished is The Trouble with Peace by Joe Abercrombie, book 2 in the Age of Madness trilogy. I loved it. This book was a joy the entirety of it. I thought that there really wasn't much of a plot because it's peacetime. And I literally had just gotten out of my mouth a penny. I'm like, well, I think this one is just character based. There's really nothing going on plot wise. And that changed. It literally, as soon as I told her that and then picked this one up to read right after, it changed. And I was like, I'm gonna have to eat those words. But this one was amazing. It has just been so much fun to sit and think where we started and the blade itself and how we got to here. I absolutely loved this one. Cannot wait to finish this trilogy next month. Oh my gosh, guys, a new favorite. The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, which is the first book in the Winter Night trilogy. I absolutely adore this book. Cannot wait to reread it. This may actually become an annual reread for me. So The Bear and the Nightingale takes place in Russia. It's a Russian-inspired fairy tale, folklore, whatever you want to call it. A story filled with the old gods and the stories that are passed down from generation to generation to the children who then grow up and tell their children and grandchildren. I absolutely loved that aspect. I loved how cold it was. My goodness, the vast majority of this I read physically, and then I was able to get the audiobook from my library and I was able to immersion read. But at one point I was walking the dogs and I was listening, and guys, it was 75 degrees at that time. I live in Central Florida and it is always hot. But I had chill bumps listening to this audiobook, walking the dogs in this heat. That's how cold this book is. Like, she is amazing at setting up the atmosphere and the surroundings of what's happening. But a new favorite. I cannot sing its praises enough. I mean, I instantly wanted to reread it when I finished it. Cannot wait to continue that series. That is a read-along that is hosted by Evie from the channel She Was Only Evie. I will have all that information linked down below, as well as Jake the Bookish Drummer's Stephen King short story read-along. Next up, I read Milk Kisses by Ross Jeffrey. This is one of the stories that is in his new collection under the same title that has come out recently. I honestly didn't know where this one was gonna go at first. It was very sweet and honest. And then the line hits when you realize, oh yeah, this is a horror story. I loved it for many reasons. And I feel that if I give you any of those reasons, it's going to spoil the story. Looking at it, you see the title, Milk Kisses. You see a baby's hand. You can probably have a little fun guessing the direction that story took. Moving into what I'm actually still working on. Guys, I have been reading the ARC for Richard Thomas's new collection coming out in February, Spontaneous Human Combustion. This collection has come in like a wrecking ball as far as favorite collections in 2021. This one could quite possibly take the #1 spot. As far as short story collections written by one author, it is the top favorite. These are amazing. I'm only halfway through the collection. Every story has been different. It's been unique. It's had a different theme. It is beautifully written. I just honestly cannot find one thing to say negative. I even love the titles of the stories. Short stories are so hard to review because you don't want to say too much. You don't want to spoil it. So what I've been doing is I read one short story per day, and then over on my Instagram page, I either put a quote that I feel summarizes the point of the story, or if I can come up with a couple of lines to describe it in a non-spoiler fashion, I do that. Or if neither of those two apply, I go with my overall feelings about each one. So if you take a look at my Instagram page, you can see what I have thought about the first 7 so far. Cannot wait to finish this collection. It is absolutely wonderful. I've only read 7. I highly recommend it. I cannot believe I have read 7 stories by the same author and have absolutely loved each and every one of them. Normally in a collection, especially with this many stories, I'll have 1 or 2 or 3 that I just either didn't like or just didn't work for me. That's not happened. I honestly don't think it will, but all of my reviewing friends that have been saying this was the best collection they have ever read, I see why. And then as soon as I finished The Bear and the Nightingale yesterday, I started the Bachman books by Stephen King. This was my patron pick of the month for December. I binged Rage yesterday. Once I started Rage, I only took 1 break to eat dinner and take a shower, and then I sat down and I did not move until I finished that story. I understand that it was taken out of print because it has to do with a school shooting. Honestly, the school shooting was the least important part of this novella that Stephen King wrote. I know that is probably really weird to hear, but that was not the focal point of the story. That was not the most important thing of this story. It, honest to goodness, was a plot device. It just gave us a finite sort of timeline, a sense of urgency, but that's it. Rage was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Next up in this collection is The Long Walk. And I have heard so many people say that is one of their top favorite things Stephen King ever wrote. I can't wait to start that today, y'all. I have so much to do because we're about to leave to go home to Mississippi. So much to do, but oh, I want to read that so bad. I'm hoping to start and finish The Long Walk before we leave for Mississippi because I don't want to take this book with me. This is a rare first printing edition of the omnibus, the paperback that Plume did with all 4 novels. So I don't want to risk it getting damaged and traveling back and forth. So what I will take with me is Moses, Man of the Mountain by Zora Neale Hurston. This very human story is told with great humor, passion, and psychological insight. The hallmarks of Hurston as a writer and champion of Black culture. I absolutely cannot wait to read this one. My friend Evie has already read it and she really enjoyed it, so that one's next, along with book 2 in the Aurelian cycle by Rosaria Munda, Flamefall. I was supposed to read it last month, but I got sidetracked. I mean, honestly, guys, my TBR gets sidetracked every month. Let me just go ahead and stick myself right out there on Front Street. But I am super excited to get to this one. Flamefall and Moses, Man of the Mountain should definitely keep me busy while I am home for the holidays. I don't know what to expect. I know I will get some time to read in the car when it's not my turn to drive. So I should be able to finish at least one of them and maybe get a good head start on the other. We'll see. Then my plan once I get back is to get started on Mike Shell's Idol's Fall. That is the 3rd book in the Iconoclast trilogy. This is a read-along that I'm co-hosting with my buddy Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads. We have talked to Mike Shell about doing a live show with him once we finish all 3 books. That is coming sometime in January. I'm not sure if Andrew has nailed down an exact date with Mike yet, but as soon as I have that information, I will share that. Guys, that is gonna wrap it up for my week of reading. I had a really good week, I actually didn't really think I had read this much, but I guess I did. Y'all have a wonderful Christmas, happy holidays if you celebrate. If you don't, I hope you get a couple of days off from work and you can sit around and read. What are you guys planning to read over the holidays? Do you have a specific book that you were saving just for that time frame to read? I would love to hear about it in the comments down below. Take care. Have a wonderful holiday with your families. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one.